Good evening and welcome to the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting of Wednesday, March 22nd of 2023. At this time, I'm going to ask everyone in the audience to please rise so we can pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd ask that you all remain standing for a moment of silence in honor of our soldiers, past and present. Thank you. First thing we have is an announcement. I'd like to announce that our next regular scheduled meeting for the Board of Appeals is Wednesday, April 12th of 2023. And moving to tonight's public hearings, we have two public hearings. We have a special permit, and we also have a variance. And unfortunately, as a member of this board and also as the chairman, I am unable to sit in on both of these cases because I have a conflict on the first case and also on the second case. So at this time, I'm going to step down, and we're going to have Halim Shuba. He will be the acting chairman for tonight's two hearings. So if you can just if we can go off the record just for about 5 minutes so that we can reassemble the board. Thank you.
Zoning Board of Appeals is back in session. Our first hearing tonight on the agenda is the special permit ZSP 23-1. The petitioner applicant is South Coast and Associates, Inc. Owner is South Coast Investments. The subject property is located at 111 Prospect Street, map 123, lot 80. It's located in the General Residence District. This case was advertised in the Chronicle on January 19, 2023 and January 26, 2023. What's the pleasure of the board?
Make a motion that we waive the reading of the abutters.
Oh,
See what happens when you're out of practice. Right.
Do we have a second?
second.
All in favor? Aye. So we're waiving the reading of the abutters list. We do have an abutters list available at the ZBA office. If anybody wishes to look at the list, they can contact Michelle and she would make it available. We also, so this petition, the petitioner is seeking a special permit to raise an existing one-story dwelling with attached garage damaged by fire down to foundation and construct a new two-story single-family dwelling with attached garage not being built entirely inside the existing footprint. Also, to relocate front entrance from Prospect Street side to the Merrimack Street side, which does not comply with zoning setback and therefore extends the nonconformity, and this is per Article 6, Section 375-6.2B2, non-conforming structures. We do have some comments from the different departments, and normally we read those comments out to the records. I'll start with the building commissioner review letter, and this is dated January 23rd, 2023, from Mr. Braga, who's the building commissioner and the zoning officer, zoning enforcement officer. He's also here tonight with us. And this is regarding 111 Prospect Street. It says, I have reviewed your application, and at this time your proposal cannot be approved due to the non-compliance with the current zoning regulations. Proposing to raise an existing one-story dwelling and with attached garage damaged by fire down to the existing foundation and construct a new two-story single-family dwelling with attached garage as replacement. The proposed new structure is not being built entirely inside what was the existing footprint of the raised structure. The relocation of the front entrance from the Prospect Street side to the Merrimack Street side does not comply with the zoning setback and thus extends the nonconformity. Your application is being denied under the following section, and he cites the Article 6, Section 375-6.2B2 non-conforming structure. This subject property is located in the General Residence District. And this is from the building commissioner. We also have conservation. Says, while we understand that you are seeking special permit relief under zoning, be advised that prior to any actual work on the ground, an RDA request for determination of applicability for said activities is required, since the work will fall within the wetland jurisdiction. Board of Health, they also have some comments. As part of the building permit process, the following would be required. They require that the owner contractor are responsible to retain a certified asbestos inspector to conduct a pre-demolition inspection for the presence of asbestos, and also a report from a certified asbestos inspector of their findings. Confirm asbestos material must be removed by a licensed asbestos contractor, and submit documentation manifest to the Board of Health through Viewpoint that the material have been properly removed and disposed of. Air quality report, completed asbestos notification form A and F from Massachusetts DEP. This office will review the application and documents once submitted and schedule an inspection with the applicant or representative. Also, DPW, I have the proposed plan states that the existing foundation shall remain. If any part of the foundation is proposed to be removed and reset, the existing utilities shall be temporarily cut back prior to construction and permitted through DPW. The site plan shows existing utilities and driveway to remain. Any revisions to the utilities or the driveway within the right-of-way shall be permitted through the DPW. Planning, revised plot plans should show all proposed setback distances from Merrimack Street to different parts of the front of the proposed dwelling, since it's not a straight line. Not sure what the last comment, was that from Kristen?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't have to read that in. Okay. I guess this is it from the, for review from the different departments. And again, this is a special permit to raise an existing building that was damaged by fire, and to rebuild more or less within the vicinity of the existing foundation, but some changes to the footprint that would require a zoning approvals through a special permit, because it's increasing the nonconformity. Is the applicant or his representative here tonight?
Yeah, we're here. I'm David Silvera, and this is Christian Silvera from South Coast and Associates and South Coast Investments. We acting as the developer and the general contractor.
Okay, and are you, do you have a representative, or you are representing?
We're representing ourselves.
Okay, well, can you explain to the board what you're trying to do and why
Okay, so
you need this?
essentially, this is a fire damage arson property that's been basically sitting there since about 11 months ago, when I think the incident occurred. We purchased the property, I believe, about 6 months ago? October, November. So we've been attempting to permit the alteration and renovation of the property to construct a four-bedroom, two-story structure, and what we believe is in accordance with the general zoning, which is a two-story, no higher than 35 feet. There is the existing footprint. We are meeting the existing footprint, but because the existing footprint does not conform to the setback, we are, I guess, essentially triggering this technicality to be here, but we're not exceeding structurally, other than the front steps, the main entrance coming into the house. But the existing steps on the Prospect Street side actually encroached further on that setback. Mm-hmm. So we're actually improving the encroachment, essentially improving the condition. Other than that, some of the notes in the letter from the commissioner indicated that the structure is to be raised, not to be confused with lifted or raised, but to R-A-Z, raised, would be to completely remove the structure down to the ground. By definition, we are not doing that. We're demolishing it to the platform, and we are keeping the garage walls intact. So we're going to use that as our base to build from, because really what's there is completely fire damaged, not structurally sound. as far as the setback, which I just mentioned. So we're just trying to build a nice four-bedroom home that meets the market demand. If we were to rebuild what's there now, a one-story, three-bedroom home, I think it was, yes, three-bedroom, it's not gonna meet the demand. And we have some other points as far as the positivity for the neighborhood, but that's in general what we're trying to do.
Okay. Before we open this to the public, any of the board members have questions for the applicant at this time?
I have none at this time.
I have a couple. In looking at your plan, the front of the house where the stairs are on Prospect Street, that's coming out, correct?
On the proposed design, correct?
Proposed plan.
They are.
And on the, I always have trouble with this, the north side of the house, where there's that jut out, that's gonna be the new entrance?
So the north side on Merrimack is the new proposed entrance.
And that's not there right now?
No, it's currently on Prospect Street,
Right.
further encroaching into the setback.
Well, there is no entrance there.
Nope.
But the plan is to put an entrance there.
Correct.
And therefore push the house closer to the street, or the building itself closer to the street, and that's why you're here for a variance, right?
Essentially, right, on
Special
that,
permit, I
on
mean.
that side, correct.
Right, okay, now I understand. And the very top, that's the garage, the top of the plan? Yep. And that's gonna stay exactly where it is?
Yes.
No
Yes,
changes?
we're not changing, the walls are staying intact.
Okay.
We're just gonna add a level above it.
And the other thing to mention here too, as well as,
Can
Yeah.
you need to,
I'm Christian Silvera.
Okay, Christian.
Other representative of this project. The other thing to mention here as well is that the lot coverage in this case, what we're looking to do is actually improving. When you factor in the walkways and patios of this lot, we are actually removing some walkways that are on the lot, and we're building one of the bump outs within an existing patio, so the lot coverage is actually improving.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
any other questions from the board members? Dr. Agay?
No, thank you, none.
Okay, so I understand you're leaving the existing foundation underneath the main house. You're reusing that foundation. So you're taking the structure down to the foundation wall?
No, we're taking the structure down to the first floor platform. We're keeping the framing of the first floor platform because it's not tampered with due to the fire. It's not
Oh,
damaged.
the first floor is?
The first floor platform is not damaged by the fire. The walls, as you can see in these pictures, the walls are very fire damaged, but the first floor platform, there's no charring on it. This-
So you're removing the roof, and you're gonna go with the second story on top of the for the second floor?
No, we're removing the roof and the first floor walls down to the first floor platform. So we're
Okay.
utilizing
That-
first
yeah.
floor framing.
Okay. So the existing floor joists they're intact? The existing floor joists on the first floor are sound, it could be reused?
Yes.
Okay. We'll get back to Mr. Braga. I'm not sure if you had any concerns. And you're leaving the walls on the garage,
Correct.
and you're adding the second story on top of the block wall?
Correct.
Okay. And the new roof.
Yes.
Now, I noticed there's a bulkhead in between the main house and the garage. You're squaring that area, I believe, so you're gonna pour a new foundation between the existing house and the garage?
Correct. Yes.
And the garage,
There will be a foundation wall. Go ahead, sir.
the garage structure that has, I wasn't sure if that was a foundation. It looks like it had the cinder block foundation wall,
Right.
right?
Yep.
Do you know if there's a footing underneath, or we don't know?
That will all be investigated when we go for a building
Okay.
permit and our engineer
Right.
reviews everything.
Because you're going a second story on top of that?
Yep, that will
Right.
all be reviewed.
Okay, I mean, those is gonna be worked out with the building department.
Correct.
Once you get but as far as zoning, I understand you're here to move the entrance from Prospect to Merrimack, and by doing that, you're making the nonconformity less, less non-conforming, I believe. So you're making it more conforming on the Merrimack Street, and then
Right.
you're asking to increase the non-conformity on
Right.
on Merrimack.
The nonconformity comes into play with the two.
With the stairs.
With the two bump outs that come out on the house, they're in line with the garage wall.
No, I understand.
Yep.
But part of zoning bylaws in Dartmouth, I think, entrances and platforms, and if it's attached to the building, it's part of the structure.
Correct.
That's why you
That
need
as
to
well.
get a relief on that.
Yep, yep.
I don't have any questions at this time. We'll open this to the public because this is a public hearing. Is there anyone who's here for either in support or in opposition of this petition? Yes, sir. You can come up to the podium. Please state your name and
I have a brief
for the
question
record.
for you. Because by the way, we have letters in support of other surrounding neighbors who are for the project, so I didn't know when that comes into play, if at all.
do you have them?
I do. They're right here. Signed by them with their addresses and names.
We can.
Because
we
usually
have
those
a copy of it, but we
usually
can-
those who are for a project like this, they don't usually come to
I
the
understand,
meetings,
but,
so.
do you have a copy of the right, for? We can give it to you. Okay, sure. We just have to make him part of the, yes, you can, we'll have to vote. We just have to take a quick vote on to accept these, to be part of the records. Do we have a motion to accept these letters? to
Make a
be
motion,
added?
we accept and read into the record the letters of support.
Second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
So we do have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 letters of support, and with the addresses, this is Joe Vasal, this is 110 Prospect Street, this is from John Santos on 112 Prospect Street. We have Kelly Kudo and Brian Kudo on 101 Prospect Street, and we have Gunnar Souza and 118 Prospect Street, and we have Katie Martins on 114 Pearl Street. Thank you. Yes, sir.
How you doing? My name's Robert Miller. I'm the abutter at 116 Merrimack Street.
116, is that to the east of the, to the,
That would be their backyard technically, right now.
116? Yeah,
Yes.
you're, okay. You're
I'd like
the
to
east.
submit these. I have 28 names against it.
Okay.
I believe, can I go up?
Yes, what do you have?
Those are signatures that, from the neighbors that say it's a detrimental to the neighborhood.
Okay, so we
Yeah, we
have a list here of 15 people that signed this, that are in opposition of this
Correct.
project.
There's 2 pages, sir, from the whole area. Roughly. I don't know how many names there are, but it's
29.
20-something,
Okay.
roughly.
So we have 14 and 14, 28 names. They are in opposition. Okay. Yes, sir.
So, I do have a lot of concerns. I am not against someone building a house. I am not. Something's gotta be built there. It looks horrible now. But what I'd like to do is give you a little history of the property. Is that house was built in 1948, prior to zoning laws. The end of 1948, zoning laws were enacted in the town of Dartmouth. 10-foot, 30-foot rear, 10 and 10 on the sides. At some point in time, from the 61 to 70s, that garage showed up. At some point in time. 1.9 feet away from 116 Merrimack Street. That is in violation of of the 1948 zoning laws.
It's an existing
I
non-conforming.
understand that.
Okay.
But once again, here we are, we're gonna argue the
Right.
fact that it's non-stop, non-consistent, 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 non-consistent. There's multiple issues with that. I mean, it seems like it's non-stop with this. The other argument's gonna be, is it boils down to the fact that it's too big of a house for that lot. That's what it boils down to. All right, it's high,
The
Right, it's not-
lot coverage is the same, it's not changing, I understand.
well, I'm
No,
trying to
I-
state my argument. I'm not,
just- Yes, they
There's-
comply with the height
correct.
restriction.
They say they're leaving the the resistant walls on the garage, are there footings there now? And if there's no footings, how is that gonna be dug without going on my property? If there's only 1 feet 9 inches? I would actually ask the building inspector.
Okay, so.
How would
this
that-
is
I'm just
not-
asking
Excuse
how-
me, it's not open for discussions, you have to go through the chair, but if you have a question.
I've never done this before.
No,
I'm
it's
sorry.
okay, if you,
I'm
I,
sorry.
absolutely, do you have if you have questions.
I have,
state-
all right, I have a question. He
State your questions,
the-
and then
the-
we'll ask the building
builder-
commissioner.
The builder is asking, I'm sorry, the builder is saying that he's leaving the existing walls on the garage, but we don't know what's underneath there.
Mm-hmm.
So if it's found out that there is, if it's found out that there is no footings, how does that work, how is that gonna work if he doesn't have access to, in other words, he's not gonna be able to go on my property, tear up my property to pour its footings? What would happen at that point?
Okay, that's one of your questions.
That's, yeah, I'm just. if
Do you
I
have
didn't
other
word it
questions?
right, do you guys-
You had several questions, and I think I might have answered some of them before,
I just
but,
don't understand how he's gonna build the foot, if
Okay,
there's
so
no
your
footings.
question, how-
If
right.
there's no footings, how are the footings gonna be poured without encroaching onto someone else's property?
okay, I got you.
understand?
No,
Okay.
No, I understand.
Safety
I do this for a
concerns.
living,
No,
so-
I know. Listen, listen.
I totally understand.
I've never done this before, so.
No, it's okay.
Bear with me.
No, I am.
Safety issues. He wants to go above the garage. All right, he's gonna tower over me. He's gonna shadow my
Hmm?
house. If that house has a history of fires already, if it catches on fire, what's gonna happen if it leans over and falls onto my house? That's how close we are.
Hmm.
It's a corner lot. We're gonna build a 35 structure on a corner lot. You know, you got kids there. Like I said, I'm not against him building a house there. But let's build it appropriate and not detrimental to everybody, to a neighbor, to a abutter. Runoff. He has 1.9 feet on the garage side to my property. How is the runoff gonna be handled on that side when there's only 1.9 feet? On heavy rains, when the rain hits that side of the building, now that we're going up 35 feet, now I don't know the word you guys use, it's a wider facade. That water's gonna hit, it's gonna run down, it's gonna flood me out. How is that gonna be handled? I don't know if I'm supposed to be asking you the questions, but I'm just,
No, I understand. I want you to ask all your questions.
that is
because-
detrimental to me to flood me out.
Okay.
Especially, not even that, it's detrimental to the neighborhood, because where is the water gonna run off? Is it gonna run off in the wetlands 100 feet away? Is it gonna run off on?
Where does it go now?
I don't even know. I always assumed it was pumped into the sewer.
But then you can't,
I know you can't, but I always assumed that's where it went. I know you can't, but I'm just, you know what I'm saying? Building this thing 35 feet, 30, what is it, 31? Can we say, is it
I
31?
think it's under 32, I believe it's.
All right, so it's
32,
31. We'll say it was 31. Is right in that area?
30'8".
Is gonna put my house in a complete shade. That severely limits my ability to get solar. Okay? That also creates problems with mold, moss, possible structural foundation damages to me, because it's not gonna dry out, because this thing's gonna be towering over me. That is detrimental to my property.
okay.
That's just not detrimental to me, that's detrimental to everybody.
I understand.
Parking. You got a driveway in that property right now that is with 100 feet of a corner. And from what I understand, I think of the drawing, it's gonna stay, I believe. So where is parking gonna happen? Because Merrimack Street's very, very narrow to begin with.
Okay.
People coming, I don't even know what the directions would be, north, south, up and down. The parking issue is gonna be detrimental to the neighborhood. Because where are they gonna park? You can't park close to the corner, so it makes a turn. Car coming out, onto Prospect, whatever, left and right. That's an issue. Geez, I'm all confused now. I got so much stuff going on. I got all this stuff. Like I said, I've never done this before.
That's okay.
Just bear with you. Like I said, I'm not trying to say he can't build a house. I don't want that to say. It's just that this house that he wants to build is overpowering and is too big for that development. These developments were built way, I mean, this whole thing was built way back in the plots with 1913. That's what this is about. The little houses, not little houses, but
Okay,
stuff like that.
I understand. You're a director of butters, I understand your concerns. Is there any, I've been to the area, there's two-story homes around in the neighborhood, that size home.
Right.
I don't think it's, but I understand. You're
But I mean, I am gonna be-
1.9 feet, I got it. So
I didn't hear what you said. You're gonna what?
you're 1.9 feet away.
Correct,
It's-
and 1.9 feet.
It's away from your property.
And
I
not only
understand.
that, I mean, it's very detrimental to get water runoff from
Right.
this house. It's detrimental to me, and I'm just curious where it's all gonna go.
Right.
Because Merrimack Street, I believe, slopes down, I believe. So, I mean, if we got other neighbors here, it's detrimental to them too.
Right, but you understand he's not increasing the impervious area on the lot?
He has to be, he's building a bigger roof. He's putting foundations in. He's squaring it off. He's
Okay,
putting foundation
all right.
in, he's going up. So
okay.
he's building bigger roofs, which is a bigger, I don't know if the word is footprint, I don't know what it is.
Right, so.
And not only that, it's gonna be higher.
Good, all right. So I wrote your concerns, I understand this, runoff, parking, height, and.
The footings, how, like.
Okay, the
that's
footing,
what-
that's, yeah.
How is the maintenance gonna be done on that side of the roof?
Correct,
Correct,
yeah.
with the 1.9, if I put a
Exactly,
fence up.
right.
I mean,
Yeah, you're
are we
you're
going over there
entitled
with
to.
is the guy
correct.
gonna go over there with a sickle and cut the lawn? What are we gonna do?
Right,
You know, because it's not being done now. It's never been done. It's never been maintained.
right.
You know, this wouldn't be a big issue if he kept that section off the garage. You know, I don't know if that's an option for you. Just something
No,
to think about.
it's not, let's not get into.
No, I know,
side,
I just,
you know,
I know. I'm
so
just trying to
if you have
give,
any- Right.
I'm just
so
trying to
are
give
you-
some
I
solutions to
understand,
my
sir.
problems.
I understand. I would be concerned if I was 1.9 feet away too. So do you have any other new concerns that you need to tell the board about?
Safety parking. We did water runoff, right? Mm-hmm. And my other thing is too, is it's continuously non-conforming. After another, after another, after another. And it seems like it's gonna be again. When does it stop? I mean, what's next, you know? Runoff structure, mold, I said mold issues, the moss, the structural damage on my part from rot, because I'm not gonna get the sun. Well, he's gonna try blocking the sun, but. I think that's, like I said, I've never done this before, so that's about it. As I said, I do believe it's gonna be a detriment
Okay.
to not only me, but to the neighbors,
neighbors,
neighbors
yes.
at whole.
Right.
So,
Okay.
that's,
Thank you.
thank you.
Anyone else? Sure.
Lori Ann Miller, 318 Bakerville Road. No, I don't live in the neighborhood, but that's my family house. My family has owned that house for almost 75 years. So I sort of know the neighborhood and I know what it consists of. And you're right, it does consist of some two-story houses. But those two-story houses are not on .16 acres of a lot. My son has 4 of their lots. The house next to him has 4 of their lots. Those lots may have houses, but they have a bigger land and bigger lots, and they do conform to zoning. This house has 998 square feet of livable space. That's on your assessor's map. It tells you how much livable space the house presently has. They're putting in 2,000 square feet of livable space on .16 acres of land. Should he build a house? Absolutely. Should he build a house that fits the neighborhood and not overpowers the neighborhood, that doesn't change the character of the neighborhood? Absolutely. He can put in a cape. He could put in a 4-bedroom cape that would fit there beautifully. He could put in a raised ranch that would fit there beautifully. And it would fit the neighborhood and not overpower it and be detrimental to the neighborhood. And that's the main thing. You're changing the character of the neighborhood. And as you all know, I was on the planning board for 30 years. And in 1999, we rewrote our residential area. And we rewrote, obviously, the general residential district. And we decided not to raise those lots to a half an acre. We decided to keep them at 15,000 square feet. That's the present zoning in that area. And the reason being that we wanted to be able to have affordable housing in the town of Dartmouth and not have McMansions all over the town on small square lots. Keep the small square lots where they presently are, allow affordable housing for people who can afford them, and not build a $700,000 house in an area that is probably now 400,000, maybe 350, which is an average everyday citizen house who will move to this area to live in an average everyday area. And this is going to overpower the area, and it's just going to ruin the neighborhood, literally ruin the neighborhood and be detrimental to it. It's on a corner lot. If you look at that top picture on the left-hand side, that's what it looks like. That's what the neighborhood looks like. And then look at the house on the the right-hand side, and that's what he wants to put there. Can he put, right, that house right there. Does that look like the house on the left-hand side? Does that look like the neighborhood on the left-hand side? It's going to be detrimental to the neighborhood, and it's going to bring it down. It's a corner lot. I can tell you now, if someone parks on Merrimack Street and someone wants to turn onto Merrimack Street and someone is trying to turn off of Merrimack Street, one of those cars has to stop, because it's not wide enough for a parked car and two cars to go either way. So it's going to be a traffic nightmare, especially on Prospect Street. They drive like maniacs, and there's a corner there. Water, believe me, sometimes in July, I can remember wearing boots, because that's a very, very high water table there. My son goes to plant a tree, 2 feet, he hits water. My father has a sump pump in that house, and that sump pump ran 24/7, I swear. Maybe in the month of August it didn't run, if we didn't get a rainstorm. Very high water table. Runoff from that house of that size, maybe the same footprint, but a bigger roof, because he's squaring off the house. More water is going to run into that neighborhood, and there's a problem there now. I can remember when I was a kid, we used to ice skate in the street. That's how much water you get in that neighborhood. My son's field, which is the house next to, it's on the other side of the house and in between where the other house is. It used to freeze in the winter. We used to ice skate in the winter in that field all the time. That's how much water is in that neighborhood. So adding a roof of that size at the top of that street, when water runs down, is going to be detrimental to the neighborhood. And like I said, he can build. Please build a house there, because we don't want to have what's there now. But build a house that fits with the neighborhood. Don't build something that's going to overpower the neighborhood and destroy the character of the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening. I live at Sean Lavassa. I live at 114 Willis Street in South, right around the corner.
Your name, please?
Sean Lavassa.
Sean Levant.
There's a house that size right across the street that they're building, and I see no issues. It's an eyesore now, and it's just bringing up the value of the rest of the properties in the neighborhood. And I eventually want to put a second floor on the roof of my house. And I have a ranch, so I have no issues with them building that size of a house.
Okay, thank you.
That's it, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Just for the record, Eric Lyonnaise, 107 Prospect Street. I have Not a problem. I know it's up to the builder and the owner to build what they want within the zones and regulations. I do think it is fairly large for that lot, personally. But yeah, something new and nice would be nice for the neighborhood, so either way. My only concern is the runoff, because like this lady said, there's a lot of water there. So I live right behind in the backyard of where it's gonna be built. But overall, we've gotta do something. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Back to the board before we, I think, yeah, Mr. Braga, I think I have some questions for you. Okay, so just from a legal standpoint of view, we understand that lot coverage is based on footprint of the building. It doesn't matter if you have 1-story, 2-story, or 3-story buildings, still the same projection at the roof will generate the same amount of runoff, right? And I understand we have some kind of zoning bylaws in Dartmouth that you can't flood someone else's property when you build a house, so you can't direct discharge from a roof or your driveway or to someone else's property, so they have to maintain that somehow on site.
That is correct.
As far as parking, I believe we require 2 parking spaces per dwelling in Dartmouth, right?
That is correct, that's the
And-
minimum.
Minimum, they have a garage and a driveway, showing that they can provide probably 2 parking spaces on the lot. I'm just going through the zoning. I understand the character of the neighborhood. We're not here against changing, we're not here to change the character of the neighborhood. We are the zoning board of appeals. We need to look at the zoning bylaws, apply them, and see if they comply with the statutory of granting a special permit or criteria of special permit. And Lori, just for your information, you know, I've been on this board probably for 12, 13 years, and I've seen all that area, the Prospect, you know, South Dartmouth, and I understand, but things are changing now. We're not in the 40s and the 50s. People require bigger homes. We're not, you know, maybe the 800 square feet back in 1948 or in it was okay. You know, I understand, but I see it all around. I see around the town where people are buying a lot and building a larger home. I mean, I can see that he's staying more or less within the same footprint. He's increasing a little bit, I mean, here and there, but more or less, he's not increasing by 50% or 30%. Maybe, you know, it's
No.
footprint. I'm not trying, you know, I'm not talking about the space, the upper floor and the second. Yeah, you can get probably a cape with the second floor and get the same, but we can't dictate to people what type of house they can build on their homes. You know, I think we're looking at the zoning bylaws in terms of setbacks and height, and this is my concern. The only concern I have, I think in a way, he's making the nonconformity on Prospect better because he's moving he's moving the stairs to the other side, but he's increasing on Merrimack, not by much. The increase is modest. I looked at the neighborhood, they're all houses within that or closer to the street. My only concern is the 1.9 feet. And from practicality, if you're building a second story, you need to build a roof on the second home, you need to go up with the second, you know, how are you gonna site that house? And like I said too, if you do your due diligence and you find out that you don't have a footing and you need to dig out the foundation and to put a new foundation with footing, how is it possible? With 1.9, I know some areas where you have it, but I thought there's a state law that
10 feet.
And
They have to give the notice to, the abutters, they have to get permission before they can excavate. That's all state law, that's all building code. not
Could I
state
address
law.
that, please?
So the issue there is going to be that, go back to the gentleman's question about the foundation. The problem that they're gonna run into, and this will all be addressed at building permit time, is I don't know how any engineer is going to approve, and now I'm talking building code for a minute, approve that on a cement block, which there could be a problem when they start demoing, but that's they're gonna have to pin everything. If that collapses and it comes apart, then they're gonna have to get a surveyor and pin it every so far for that footprint so they can build within it, which is gonna get very complicated, because as you said, they only have 1.9 feet on that one side. So that-
Let's say they have a footing and a foundation, and they'll be able to go second story on top of the garage.
That's up to an engineer to determine if the new
Let's say-
code.
I'm just saying, let's say this was the case.
Yeah.
How are they gonna build the second, I mean, they can frame the wall from the inside, I understand that, but I mean, how are you gonna side the building?
Put the windows
Without
in.
getting,
Yeah.
I'll get to you,
Yeah, new construction windows and siding and all that on that one side without going on someone's property. That could get very.
that would have to get permission from the,
That's
from the
correct.
owner.
That's correct.
Uh,
No. No,
Could I address some of those points?
Yeah.
And I
I'll-
actually have a
I'll-
question- I
I'll
have a
let-
question for the
in one-
commissioner.
In a minute,
Okay,
just let
thank
me
you.
finish with Mr.
Yes, sir.
Braga,
Thank you.
just to see. So, parking, traffic, I really don't see a traffic issue. I mean, being in this business, we're not doing a Dunkin' Donuts with a drive-through here. This is a residential home still with, whether it's 2,000 square feet or 1,000 square feet, most people have 2 cars nowadays, or maybe 3, I don't know. But they meet the requirement for the zoning bylaws to provide at least 2 parking spaces.
Well, that's the reason why this is able to go to a special permit and not a variance.
Right.
Because by 40A, they couldn't meet their current requirements for the zoning, so they're allowed to go for a special permit before this board instead of the variance on the reconstruct on this one in the same footprint. So they have that, and the only thing that 40A and local zoning requires is that they meet the setbacks and the height and everything for the area, which they do except for the relocation of that front entrance.
Right, so let me rephrase this. If somehow they could make that work without changing the entrance or adding another entrance on Merrimack that would meet the existing setback, so they're not encroaching on the setback, and build within the same footprint, you can't tell them you can't go 2-story there.
No,
Can
they
you?
could, no, they can't, no, we can't, because that
That would,
zoning.
within the same footprint.
That's right, same
Yeah.
footprint. If they have, again, 40A and this bylaw that I cited are very clear. They have to meet the current requirements of
Right.
the zoning.
I
And they
just want to
can't.
make it clear so the neighbors would understand that if he decided to build within the same footprint, he can go another second story without, story without even coming to the zoning board. He, by right, he can go to the building permit, building department and get a permit.
Can I speak now?
Uh,
I'm just curious about the footing. He seemed to say that he can come on the property. I don't know.
If you need to speak, you need to come up to the podium and,
I don't know if you answered, I don't think he answered it completely.
no, I know that the answer, let's say this foundation was good. I'm just making a statement
You're
that.
talking just on the garage.
I would prefer to discuss means and methods because I'm the builder, not
Okay,
other people.
I'll get back, to you.
Thank you.
I'll get
No,
to
I'm just
you.
asking about the garage area.
Right.
The
No,
footing on,
Well, the 1.9, where you're at the 1.9.
if it's discovered that there's no footings or something there, that's what I'm
No,
asking.
he has to do something, but what I'm
Yes.
trying to tell you, I'm saying to you, because this is a zoning issue here. We're not, this is not a planning,
I know, I understand
this is not
that.
conservation.
Yes, I know, I
It's not wetlands, we're talking about zoning bylaws. So if that house had a footing and
Yeah.
a foundation, and we knew it had a
Yes.
foot, he would be able to do by right, without coming to anyone.
No,
You
I know,
understand?
but what I'm asking you is if you issue the special permit and it's found that there's no footings there.
Right, I don't know yet if we need to issue the special permit
No,
before
no,
that.
no, that's what I'm asking you.
saying.
If
Yeah,
if you go down that road and then all of a sudden there's no footings there.
okay.
And all of a sudden, I don't know what the size is it 4x4 footing?
It depends on, that's a calculation that had to be done for
All
the
right, so
first
say
and
the
second floor.
calculation, he doesn't have enough land on that side, what is the procedure?
That's what we need to discuss, that's what we need
That's
to.
what, no, maybe I'm saying it wrong, I don't.
No, I got you, I know, I understand. I was gonna say let him answer. I will, but, because I wanted to go through the concerns that.
No, and I understand.
And just to make it clear that, you know, we're looking at this from zoning, we're not looking,
Zoning,
you
yeah,
know, we're
zoning,
not.
not building yet, zoning.
Yeah, it's not, building, it's building permit, I mean, building permit is building, is Mrs. Braga, you know, Mr. Braga, if they can't
That will
build
get
it.
to me.
Right, Height, runoff, parking, footing, foundation, shade, I think, you know, I've seen multiple spaces. If you're in the city, they have 40-story buildings next to each other, that they don't get mold in the foundation. I understand your concern, though, so, yeah, the shade and the mold on the foundation, I don't think being the house being that too, would that gonna cause the mold in the foundation?
I'm saying with the abutter that mentioned that about bringing the moss and everything, with that house towering where things won't dry, yes, that's definitely a possibility. If you go to neighborhoods where houses are elevated above each other, look at the lower houses. They have a tendency on that shaded side, they'll start growing moss on roof shingles. That's very common. So that is something that could happen if the direct abutter does not get the sunshine necessary to keep those shingles and everything dry. That could happen. And it could create some of those issues. Will it? I'm not saying it will, but it is a possibility.
Okay. So the nonconformity, we know it's an existing nonconforming.
That's correct.
1948, whatever built was built, this is a grandfathered. Living space, 2,000 square feet, I don't think we have any restriction on, you know, our restriction is the footprint and the lot coverage, so I think they are within the accessible. Yeah, I'm just going through the zoning.
Dartmouth does not have any
right.
ground GFA for any
Right.
requirements on that.
Okay, I guess we can turn it to the contractor to whether,
Thank
to
you. And
figure out how
I'll
we.
address the runoff as a respect for the neighbors. I don't need to, because this is specific to the zoning element, but I want to, put their fears to rest. But more specifically, like Chairman, like you indicated, I do have the right to build a second-story home if I chose to stay within the indicated setbacks, which we could have easily done. And the house, to be honest with you, would have been ugly. We design and build beautiful homes, and that's our reputation in town. And this house, although we knew it would be more of a struggle, it's not gonna gain us any more money, it's not gonna gain us any more square footage, it's just gonna look better, okay? And that's why we chose this more difficult path, why we're here today. I could've just worked with it, left the entrance on the other side, and we wouldn't even be here tonight. But secondly, to discuss as far as the solar item, the gentleman next door, his house is positioned somewhat more southerly forward. And if you're taking advantage of solar, anyone knows that solar companies are gonna want to have a roof surface primarily in a southerly direction. So I don't think solar is gonna be an issue with that house, with our building next door. Additionally, as far as the runoff, I believe Commissioner Braga, you're requiring now with renovations that dry wells are installed on the properties?
That's all DPW.
DPW?
Yep.
But I'm
Stormwater
finding that
from-
that might actually be a requirement of this project, which is an expense to us. So currently, I don't know if many of you are aware what a dry well is, but it's basically your gutters are tied into a tank underground, which would dissipate the water over time. That may be a requirement here. I've been hearing in town that many of the new additions and alterations are being required to do that. So in actuality, potentially, we may be improving the runoff. And furthermore, I know we're gonna improve the runoff a little bit because we're gonna be removing some hardscape that Christian indicated earlier. So no matter what, although the roof surface might be slightly by maybe 5 or 10% bigger, we're removing a large square footage of a concrete patio and walkways off the property, which is now permeable. So that will improve runoff as well. As far as, there's no change in parking, I know we discussed that as well. The corner's no worse because whether you have a one-story or two-story building there, the sight line is still the same. And we have a map here about, I think, let's say, 8 two-story structures, circled in the red. They're all similar in height and size, adjacent to the property, which is this middle dot here. So again, we're not building anything that's drastic or where some would say detrimental. And again, the wall, it's, as far as the footing at the garage, which may be a concern, we could work, I've underpinned many foundations in my career, and we could work from the inside. We could saw cut the slab from the inside. We could excavate from internally in the building, and we could pour a footing underneath. We wouldn't even have to go on that side of the house. And additionally, as far as siding and putting windows in on that gable end. I've done it before, we've built a whole gable on the ground with plywood, siding, windows, trim, everything. We stand the wall up and nail it off. And with 1.9 feet on staging planks, we could work within that. And further, I could have the property surveyed, find the corner bounds, and I could put up a temporary fence there on the property line to ensure nobody crosses over during construction. And as well, we have equipment, we have a lift that we could work as well aerially on that side as well. But other than that, I mean, I think it's a lot of the points that were kind of brought up by the neighbors, you know, and then from the chairman as well.
Okay, thank you. Back to the board. For discussion, for Mr. Gardner, I didn't hear your opinion tonight.
Well, I'm just taking it all in,
Okay.
and I don't have any questions right now.
Okay.
Everybody's been very clear, but we'll have to see how it works out.
Attorney Human.
I see what has been presented, and the issue is, do they comply with zoning, and do they have a right to a special permit? And I'm of the mind that they do.
Are you comfortable? I mean, I was somehow reluctant on the construction of the second floor and the roof within the 1.9 feet. But I understand, being an engineer, I understand pinning foundation and doing that, you know, I'm familiar with that. I know they can do that within the building. I know he indicated they can build the gable wall on the ground, lift it. I understand they can do that without, and he seems to be very confident that he can build that house without going into someone else's property. So, do you feel comfortable with what the gentleman stated, the contractor?
First, I do feel comfortable, but second, that's a building issue. It's not a zoning issue.
No, but it might be a zoning issue if they find out, but if there's an issue, there's no footing and they have to dig it out and build it. But he's saying they can do that without going into,
Right.
within the building itself, without going into someone else's property. So, and again, I'm sure Mr. Braga will be looking for something from a structural engineer saying the walls are fine to add another second story on it, you know. I've done that in my, I've done that.
No, I don't have a
I
problem with
built-
that. I don't think that's,
I took roofs and built it, added
Right.
on, what's that, 8-inch block, the garage?
Looks like it's 8 by 8 by 16 CMU
Okay, so
block
it's
wall.
8-inch cement block,
Right.
yeah. I mean, again, we understand the neighbor's concern, and it seems like he's willing to address, we can probably put conditions too, if we feel that dry walls are appropriate, we can, you know, they can use, right now, there's a lot of infiltrators, shallow because of the groundwater, you can do something probably like 16-inch deep, whatever, put some dry walls or infiltrators on site to mitigate the runoff, so they don't create any, I mean, this is a special permit. We have the power to add conditions that we can, and if you feel confident that if the foundation or the footing needs to be upgraded or modified, it has to be in a way that does not impact the adjacent property. We can do that too. I mean, this way,
yes.
I don't know what else. I mean, parking and height, square footage, I don't think we can dictate to someone what type of house they should build on their lot. That's how I feel. I mean, I don't know if you guys feel differently.
agree
I
with
don't know.
I agree with that.
Okay. So we can move forward with this. We can close the public hearing, and if you're inclined to approve this, we can approve it with conditions.
Okay.
If you're inclined to go this route, and this will give Mr. Braga the power to, I mean, I know there's other certain tasks that it belongs to the building department that Mr. Braga will be looking at, which doesn't concern us. If we approve the 1.9, he can't go past that 1.9. That's from point of view, from zoning.
And it has to be understood, I know aerial lifts was mentioned. He also can't encroach that aerial lift.
Right, no, I mean, they can do it from that
Yes, they
side.
can't- they can't.
I've seen,
Again, they can't encroach
I
on
know.
the neighbors,
I
because who's gonna get the phone calls? And these are the conditions that I would prefer that are in there, because I'll get the phone calls for the complaints.
Okay.
And I say all work on that side is gonna have to somehow be
Within the
done for,
property.
within the property this way.
And that's how we operate.
no, I just want to make sure you understand, it's very clear, because my other suggestion was, not, take it down completely, move it 5 feet away, and we're fine with giving you an encroachment into Prospect Street, and then have a brand-new foundation. That's, I mean,
We'll cross that bridge if we find there's a limitation there, but, nothing worthwhile is easy, and we're gonna just, stick with what's there, and if we have to do something major, then we'll work with an amendment that would be even better at that point, but I would like to stick to the plan. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question
Yes,
for the
Yes,
for
sir.
the contractor, if I may. How confident are you that you can raise that wall, not only to a first floor, but to a second floor, and then install a roof without encroaching on either the ground space or the air space on a neighbor's property?
So 1.9 feet is basically just about 2 feet, and we have 20-inch staging planks that we could put along that side of the house, and the guys would just work on those planks, literally from the plank to the house. That's it. That's all you got to work. There's plenty to work with. We do it 30 feet up. That would be short work.
Have you done work before that has come this close to a property line?
I've done work that's on the property line. I've worked in New Bedford and Boston. I mean, structures right against each other. So yeah, definitely have.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
okay. Do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so the public hearing is closed. What's the pleasure of the board? Do we have
Are you ready for a motion to present the findings, or?
we have some findings, we can go through the findings and see if we're in agreement. Before
Yeah.
we go through the findings and,
That would be best, I
yeah,
think.
and then maybe go through some possible conditions before, and then we'll figure out, if you feel comfortable to make a motion. So the subject property is located at 111 Prospect Street, Dartmouth, and is also known as map 123, lot 80 on Town of Dartmouth Assessor's map. The property has been owned by South Coast Investments since November 2022 and is located in the general residence district. Again, Michelle, if you can double check on that, please. Currently, there is a non-conforming fire damaged residential dwelling on a 6,900 square foot lot. The existing dwelling does not meet the
Mr.
required.
Chair?
Yes.
Do we want to say pre-existing non-conforming?
Well, it says currently, so it's, yeah. Yeah, sure. Currently, there is an existing,
Pre-existing.
a pre-existing, non-conforming fire damaged residential dwelling on a 6,900 square foot lot. The existing dwelling does not meet the required 20-foot front setback and side setbacks. The subject property is served by town and water and sewer. The existing property is a corner lot with frontage on 2 streets, Prospect Street and Merrimack Street, where a 20-foot front setback is required for each street. The petitioner is seeking a special permit pursuant to Article 26, Section 375-6.2B2, non-conforming structures, to raise an existing one-story dwelling with attached garage damaged by fire down to foundation, and construct a new 2-story single dwelling with attached garage not being built entirely inside the existing footprint. Also to relocate the front entrance from Prospect Street side to the Merrimack Street side, which does not comply with the zoning setbacks and therefore extends the nonconformity. The new dwelling would be placed 12.8 from the Prospect Street line. Existing is at 9.3, where a 20-foot setback is required, and 13.7 from the Merrimack Street line. Existing is 19, where 20 is required. The new dwelling would remain at 1.9 feet from the side lot line, where 10 feet is required. The height of the new dwelling structure would be in compliance with the height restrictions in the general residence district. The board finds that the proposed one-story the board finds that the proposed dwelling structure,
One-story accessory structure.
no,
no,
the
that's a
proposed
mistake.
dwelling, that's a typo. The proposed dwelling structure is not more detrimental to the neighborhood and is in harmony with the general purpose and intent of the zoning bylaw. Conditions, the board approval shall be specifically conditioned upon compliance with the following. Usually we include that the petitioner and any subsequent owner will secure all of the necessary permit and approvals from the applicable board and agencies prior to the issuance of a building permit. All restrictions and conditions imposed from any prior variances, doesn't mean that there's any variances, but just issued for this property shall remain in full force and effect and must be adhered to by the owners. Now, we need to add drainage. We need to add the applicant shall install dry wells. I wouldn't call it dry wells. I would call some installs.
All necessary stormwater procedures and
Yes.
recharge per DPW.
Yeah, just
required.
because dry wells, they might be deep.
They
and
might not be able to
yeah,
use it
They might
there.
not,
That's
right.
right.
Shall install storm water,
Yep, all stormwater regulations per
Stormwater,
DPW regulations.
yeah, measures to prevent any discharge of runoff. You're getting this? To prevent any runoff discharge to adjacent properties.
Properties.
That should take care of the runoff. The second one, all work on the property, all construction components shall be, oh, you have it?
I had that.
Okay, yeah, we cannot encroach on it, yeah, I'm thinking all construction components, including any footing / foundation modifications if needed, right? And erection of new walls and roof shall be executed within the perimeter of the property, period. No encroachment to adjacent properties is allowed. Is that good?
That's good.
What else? Did we feel comfortable with this? You think any? I mean, they still have to apply for a building permit with the building commissioner if there's, I don't know if there was anything from an RDA or something from conservation, they still have to, was that for this or the other one? The request for determination of
Yeah,
applicability.
they still all have, this one still
they
has.
still, they go
They
through
have,
this with
that's
the,
correct.
you need the sign off from all the departments, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, including Board of Health, the
Everybody,
asbestos and all
that's
that.
correct. On the permit, everybody will
Right.
sign off.
We good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Bob? You think you want to add in? Dr. Agay?
No, thank you, none.
No? Okay, what's the pleasure of the board? Do we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the application for ZSP 23-1 with conditions and
Findings?
findings as submitted by this board.
Second that motion.
We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Okay, thank you. Our next on the agenda is the variance application ZAV 23-01, and the petitioner applicant is Michael McVeigh. Owner is Brian and Kelly Kudo. Subject property is located at 101 Prospect Street, map 123, lot 91, in the general residence district. This application, this case was advertised in the Chronicle on February 2nd, 2023, and February 9, 2023. What's the pleasure of the board?
I make a motion that we waive the reading of the abutters list.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
So we're waiving the reading of the butters list.
Aye and aye.
I'm getting back in shape, Alvin.
Can you keep it down, please? We're still in session, thank you. The petitioner is seeking a variance for setback relief for a 24 by 24 accessory building with an 8 by 10 bump out, which construction has begun without the building permit, located on a corner lot which does not comply with the town zoning bylaw for 20-foot setback from Willis Street. And this is in per Article 10, Section 375-10.4 D3B exemptions from setback requirements. I do have some. This comments from, we'll start with the building commissioner. And this says, this is from Mr. Braga to the applicant, Brian Kudo. It says, I have reviewed your application, and at this time, your proposal cannot be approved due to non-compliance with current zoning regulations. You have started construction of a 24 by 24 with 8 by 10 bump out accessory building without a building permit in a general residence district on a corner lot which does not comply with the town's zoning bylaws for 20-foot setback from Willis Street. A variance must be applied for and secured from the Zoning Board of Appeal in order to proceed with your request. Your application is being denied under the following sections of the Dartmouth zoning bylaw. It's Article 10, Section 375-10.4 D3 exemptions from setback. The subject property is located in the general residence district. Fire chief, what is this structure plan use? Question mark. Planning stamped site plan, aka also known as building location plan dated May 2022, clearly shows knowledge of the need for setback relief was known. DPW, the site plans do not show any proposed utilities, but the details state that the town sewer and water are proposed. Any existing and proposed utilities shall be submitted to the site plan. A stormwater permit and a right-of-way permit may also be required if this site is being accessed through Willis Street, where there is currently no existing curb cut and there is a soil disturbance. Also, we have a stop work order violation that was issued from the building commissioner, and this is dated May 6, 2022. And it says, as a result of a complaint on April 8, 2022 of possible renovation taking place, an inspection of the property was done by building official Dave Brunette. A large new structure was being constructed without permits. A stop work order was issued and a placard was attached to the structure, and the owner was instructed to immediately cease and desist all work. On May 5, 2022, another complaint was made to the building department that work was being done on the structure. Building Commissioner Joe Braga made a site visit and found that work was being done and that the stop work order placard had been removed in violation of 115 stop work orders. This letter is to inform you that the property owners of record for 101 Prospect Street are in violation of the following section of 780 CMR Massachusetts State Building Code 9th edition. Section 105.1, permits failure to secure all permit necessary to perform work. 115, stop work order. Remedy, stop work immediately, apply for and secure all necessary permits, call for and secure inspection approval. Then it says failure to comply with the notice issued on April 8, 2022 has resulted in a fine of $1,000 being issued per 780 CMR Section 114 violations and Mass General Law 143, Section 94A. Continued failure to comply with this order will result in fines of $100 per day for each day the violation exists. This is per Mass General Law 143, Section 94A, and possible court action. Your immediate attention to this matter is appreciated, and this is signed by Mr. Braga, the building commissioner, and the zoning officer.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
That should be $1,000.
1,000?
Not 100.
Oh, okay.
It was
Oh,
up.
yeah, that's the yeah,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, it is 1,000, but I thought the first one was 100, that's why I thought it was, okay.
Oh, the first one was 1,000.
Oh, really?
I can't even,
1,000 per day, yeah, okay.
I can't even issue anything under 300.
Uh-huh. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I believe that's all we have for review comments from all departments. Is there, they just submitted this, okay, and I was told there's 8 in support. There's 8 signed petitions in support of this application, and this is signed by the neighbors, and we need to make a motion that we accept these for the record.
Make a motion that we accept those letters into the
support.
record.
I second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. So there's 8 letters of support. Thank you. Is the applicant or the applicant representative here tonight?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. John Markey from Markey and Walsh. On the waterfront, I'm here with Michael McVeigh, a young attorney who I'm sure was happy that you saluted the flag, as he served as a Navy SEAL before he went to law school nights in town here, and we're lucky enough to have him work with us part-time, and this will be his first time to present to you. I'm also grateful that we're only 5 doors up from the last hearing, and we have 8 letters in support and not 28 against us, and most of the folks, I think, have known the Kudo family for many years. So that being said, he knows that he's got to ask for forgiveness here, and Michael is ready to present.
Thank you for your services.
Again, Mike McVeigh, Markey and Walsh Law. Again, we're here today to ask the board to grant a variance from the setback requirements for Mr. Kudo's accessory building from Willis Street. But essentially what this is again, regrettably, Mr. Kudo proceeded without a building permit and commenced construction of an accessory building. But the specific conditions that to his particular lot are as such. He has a larger lot, one of the largest lots in the neighborhood. He has a lot with some irregular dimensions, and he's got a corner lot. And so a combination of those led him to a good faith and reasonable conclusion that the place where he approved the design for the accessory building would be would comply with the 20-foot setback from the road as built. Okay, so as you know, the building commissioner arrived, stop work order, and we're here today. So a literal enforcement of the bylaw would be an extreme detriment financially to Mr. Kudo. And it ties into the third piece, is that it's not substantially detrimental to the neighborhood. It's within the character of the neighborhood. It's the majority of the property from the street is obscured by about a 5-foot 8-inch fence. So essentially, what we'd be talking about here would be the destruction, the decommissioning, I guess, of this building, and cost in the area of $45,000 to $50,000 to move it by right 5 feet away, which would have a nominal effect to the average, neighbor. Again, it's I think the board could grant this variance without much degradation to the intent of the bylaw. As I understand it, the bylaw is to prevent congestion and controlling congestion, and this really doesn't affect that at all. Mr. Kudo has someone here in support of his action tonight, and that's really all I have.
Thank you, Attorney McVeigh.
Yeah, I have a question.
Question, yeah, Mr. Gardner.
I don't know if I should address this to you or to Mr. McVeigh.
You can address it to Mr. McVeigh.
All right. Am I understanding this correctly, that he erred in not getting a building permit to begin with? I understand that mistakes can be made. But then that he removed the cease and desist order and started building again?
No, that's not correct.
That's not right?
That is
Okay,
not
then
right.
I heard that wrong. All right.
No, once he became aware of the cease and desist, he applied for a building permit, and no further
All right,
action
thank
is
you for
taken.
clearing that up.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if I may, one further thing, I went there today and I took measurements myself, and for what it's worth, it ranges from anywhere between, he's, again, he made the good faith assumption that it's 20 feet to the road, as we know that's not accurate now, but, at some points he's within inches of the 20 feet to the road. So this wasn't there's no malicious intent here. Again, a good faith mistake, and I think it would just be extremely onerous to put such a financial burden on a taxpayer just to have them knock it down and rebuild it a few feet away.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you.
I'd like to hear the building commissioner's version of what happened.
First of all, Attorney McVeigh, the stop work order was violated as per my letter. As I stated, that the second time I went there for a complaint, they were doing work and the placard was thrown into the building. I asked where the placard was, come to find out it was taped around the backside. They were putting on shingles. They were getting ready to side on the backside of that. We have photos, so if we have to, we can produce those. That stop work order was issued and a fine was issued for violating 780 CMR 115 stop work order. They were in major violation. I spoke to 2 women on site, and I believe Mr. Kudo was on the phone. And I explained to them that they were in violation, and that at that time I said, I hope that thing doesn't violate zoning, and they need to provide, there was no building permit whatsoever. Secondly, if the excuse was they didn't know, that's not accurate, because they put a second-story deck on, they put a deck on their home on the backside, which they pulled the permit for. So they were fully aware that building permits are required for structures. Thirdly, they went to pull a permit, and Mr. Kudo pulled it under Kudo Construction, which I don't know if we need to read this, but that's part of. Immediately, the administrator for Kudo Construction called me and said, we want to withdraw that. That was applied for incorrectly per their name. So as it stands right now, there is no building permit whatsoever for that structure. So it is still in violation. There has been no compliance, and that's where we stand at this moment. So the board understands. Violating a stop work order is very serious when it comes to building. You do not continue once a cease and desist order and the placard is placed on. That's a violation. It actually can become a criminal offense, okay? Both attorneys should know that. You do not violate, and I could have imposed a lot more fines onto that property, which I gave them the opportunity to try and make it right, which it took them a very long time for whatever reason. And then they put a fence up so people couldn't see it, so that we couldn't access it, so that all of a sudden the vinyl fence is up covering the structure. So, again, we don't know, we have no idea what is going on behind the fence, and I know I'm reaching out there, but it is enclosed now.
That was gonna be a question I was gonna ask you as the building commissioner. When you went down there the very first time to look at the property, was that fence up?
No, they put it up after, and by law, all construction sites are supposed to be accessible. That's also in the building code. And that site is not.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
No,
That site is no longer accessible where it has a vinyl fence all around the property now. So we can't see if there's work going on, and now we don't have right of entry to that property because we can't see if any work whatsoever, whether there is or there isn't. When there's a stop work order presented and put on, we're supposed to be able to have access to that structure. That's building code and law, that's, so.
This is the applicant.
Hi, my name is Brian Kudo. First, Joe, I just want to...
Your address, you live at the
101 Prospect
101,
Street.
okay.
Yes, that's correct, Mr. Chairman. The thing is, I heard you say shingle. I did not shingle the property. We were putting paper up so the plywood wouldn't get rotted. There's no shingles on the property. I remember when you told me to stop work, I called you about so the wood wouldn't get rotted, if it was okay for me to put paper. When we did shingles on the smaller shed, because the bigger shed does not have shingles. I do apologize, Mr. In the fence, all due respect, I can take the panels off. Yeah, I just put it up just because I'm trying to make the property look better. I'm trying to work, I'm doing a lot of work on the property. I did a lot of work, so yes, I did pull the permit. I do apologize. It's an accessory building for some of my possessions that I own. Yes, I did a mistake by not pulling the permit, but I do apologize. And the fence, I can remove a couple of panels of the fence so people could see gladly what's going on. And if you like, that's what it takes. I do apologize, though. That was my mistake. We did revoke it from Kudo Construction because we do have other things going on with you right now, and we don't want nothing to do with that. This is my property. And again, I'm sorry, okay?
There's still,
Wait, before you sit down, I have a question. Yes, sir. You're a general contractor, isn't that right?
Yes, sir.
And you went to put this building up without you knew you needed a building permit,
Yes, sir.
and you just thumbed your nose at the whole thing.
Yeah, I do, like I said, it's just, I'm not,
I'll
there's
tell
no
you
garage
what,
door.
here's my problem. My problem is, if we approve you today,
Set a
what are we
precedent.
saying to the people out in the town of Dartmouth? Go ahead, put your building up, don't worry, come to us and we'll let you do whatever you want. So I'm telling you up front, I will not approve this, okay? And you need 3 votes on this board to be approved, and I'm not one of them, so you're not gonna get approved. I'm not happy with what happened here. Go ahead, putting up buildings on your whim. You can't do that. That's why there's zoning.
Thank you.
if I may, Mr. Chair, I'd like to have one more comment if I could.
Sure.
I appreciate Mr. Attorney Human's comments, and here's my thing. This was blatant against a licensed contractor, which one of the things I could have done is I could have, that person could be in Boston.
I know.
And I could have their license taken away. That's also one of the penalties. My problem with this whole situation is, we've already had a couple of these since I've been here where they come for forgiveness. Accessory apartments, putting this in and putting that in. I already have 2 more in the works. My issue as building commissioner, zoning enforcement officer is, if this is approved and the board does not make an example, as bad as that seems, this board is going to be flooded, and my office is going to be flooded, because we already have numerous people in town building, gutting houses in all areas, and we're catching them, and then they say, we're sorry. And then they're upset. Again, I hate, I don't want to see this happening, but I have to be honest with this board. This is going to become this will become a problem if this is approved. That's my honest opinion.
Is the structure on foundation?
What's
Or
that?
Does it have a foundation?
It has a slab and everything.
It has a slab?
Yes, it does. No call for anything on this. We got a call from the neighbor, and it was already, the plywood was up on the sides. And then again, when I go there and the placard is thrown inside and they're shingling after the stop work order, I mean, it's not just a matter of they built the building, he's a licensed contractor. And I agree with Attorney Human on this one. This is gonna create a problem. We're gonna have more, we're gonna see more of these.
And I'm very disappointed that I asked for a clarification of that, and I didn't get a clarification. It was just the opposite. Very disappointing.
I appreciate and understand the board's position and respect whatever decision they ultimately make. And I do agree, and I'm glad that Attorney Human pointed to the camera and said, look, I have to not just address the people here, but this is a message to the town. As was mentioned at the onset, originally when we were told, just so that the record is clear to Attorney McVeigh and myself, we were under the impression that there was paper that was put up and that he was permitted to do it, because I asked if any work was done afterwards. And I was unaware, and I apologize, Mr. Braga, if there was a misrepresentation on our part. We own that. Because I didn't come back to your office to get the file. I asked the client about whether there was a stop work. That being said, at the end of the day, the question, the one thing I would ask or be curious as to with the board was, if this is something where my client is in essence going to spend $20,000 or $25,000 to tear this down and move it over 7 feet and then rebuild the same structure, is there any appetite for adding some kind of a condition to say that you need to pay $5,000 to the town, you need to pay something as a penalty to say that instead of having to, and I'm not saying it's something that you should consider. I haven't looked at the legal issue. It just seems like a waste to everybody. First of all, he needs to be sent the message, and I heard that loud and clear. The second thing is, if the concern is about the neighborhood, whether that would be something that would be appropriate or a condition. And I'm not asking that you vote on it tonight without looking into it, but that's a thought as to whether that's something that would, the building commissioner would feel like the message has been sent loud enough, and whether that's something that you would consider. And if that is, then we could continue this and delay it until we had another meeting. And if it's not something you would have an appetite for, I fully respect that as well.
Thank you, Attorney Markey. Yeah, I agree. If this gentleman came to this board with the zoning, I don't think we have an issue granting probably setback relief on this. We've done it on other properties in the area, and that's not my issue. My concern is we don't want to set the precedent for this. This is, again, I agree with, I thought about that too, I agree with Attorney Markey. I mean, there's gonna be some kind of, not punishment, I would say, some kind of, reasonably in between to see whether we can do this, I mean, yeah, we can say, take it down. And that's why I asked if it was on footing or, or foundation, because that probably gonna be, in order to move it, you probably have to take the structure down, and you have to cut part of the slab, or maybe leave it and then, extend the slab over. And that's an option, but I'm not saying that we don't have the right to do that. We can say, absolutely, take it down, put it back at 20 feet. Is there anything else that we can do too, to say, I mean, if I go by the $1,000 per day in violation, what does he owe now? $500,000 to the town?
Well, here's the thing. I go back to, I understand, Mr. Chair, and I respect Mr. Chair's position. No matter what penalty I enforce, take the person's license away, put all this money on, it's not going to stop everyone else from doing it, because what they're gonna look at is, well,
The precedent.
the commissioner is going to just fine us. The board is gonna say, here you go, and it's approved, and I'm gonna have to deal with these, because tonight, what's gonna be on tape is that this is egregious. This isn't one where, oops, I made a mistake. It's a licensed contractor, knew we needed permits, he has a structure already in his house that he hasn't even called for inspections for, to final on. We never will call for inspections on it. I would be more apt to bend, but a licensed contractor who won't even call for inspections. And then to do this and put concrete in, knowing that has to be inspected. Either way, whatever the board decides, I still, as the building commissioner, I can order that thing tore up, because I need to see what's in that concrete. And we don't know what's in there. I don't know if it meets code. That's the problem. It's not just the stick frame. It's also that concrete pad. Does it have the vapor barrier? Does it have all the necessary underneath it? That's what I don't know. So either way, they may, again, I think it would be bad precedence, because we'll see more of these right now. And I just know we will, because I know what I already have down there in my office.
And you, Mr. Chairman, you know how I've always felt about setting precedents.
Yes, I
Because
understand.
it just comes back to bite us every single time.
No, I understand.
So-
I understand. Dr. Agay.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. this withdrawal of the application has no date on it. Did you pass this one?
Oh, you mean the contractor, yeah, I'm not sure, the letter that came from Kudo? Yeah, there has no date on it, he said,
We just got it.
you got it today.
Yeah, no, yeah, but this was withdrawn back as soon as they put the original permit application in. Soon as, it was put in by, I believe, Brian put it in, and the administrator for Kudo Construction called me directly and said that we want this taken off immediately. We want, point blank, we want no part of it.
What date is
But
it?
there's no date on it.
The date stamp would be on the permit, on the viewpoint, but it was right within a matter of a couple of days that went on. This was just shortly after the second stop work order.
So the permit was applied for sometimes in April of 2022? That's where,
I don't remember the exact date.
right, I mean, that, and we believe that nothing that was done since that, we don't know.
Well,
I
no,
mean,
well, there's no permit, because that's withdrawn, and that permit's gone because of the contractor said, no,
Oh, okay,
our name, this isn't our name, we want no part of it.
okay.
The second question is that the stop work, is it before withdrawal or after withdrawal? This is the stop work. This.
That's after the stop work order, Dr. Agai. After the
Has date.
second violation is when,
Has date,
that's,
but the other one has not date, so I'm not so sure if it is before or after.
It's after, he's saying.
it's after.
It's after.
After May 6th, so sometime
And the last
mid-May.
question,
Yes, Dr. Agay.
was the town of Dartmouth obligated to disclose or to report that one to where he has his license to do that type of building? I mean, it's just with the town, it's Mr. Bravo to decide, but is something, some human mistakes, are we obligated to report that one to the board? And that is the question. If so, please go ahead. If not, human being can make mistake at any time. We're all human beings. Thank you.
Say, are you obligated to report to the construction board, or I don't know.
I'm not obligated.
Not obligated.
I'm not obligated, but that is one of the choices that can be made, which I chose not to do. That's not that it won't happen, but again, the issue it's not a building code issue. To me, it's more important that it's a zoning issue. To me, as the zoning enforcement officer, this is a zoning issue which will continue. And it will happen more. And that's what I'm concerned about. The building code, I'm not concerned about that. That I can address, just like the other one before it. All the issues are addressed at the building permit.
So at this time, I think there are no, normally on different cases, we offer the applicant the choice of withdrawing without prejudice, but I don't think this is the case here. It's not gonna happen because we need to vote on this in order, once we deny it, then he's in violation of the zoning, then you can enforce removing the structure. So I'm not sure, giving you the option, Attorney Markey, if we do that, I'm not sure what options is gonna leave. I mean, I hate to,
The only reason I just asked my client this was that clearly he has to dig up the foundation as it exists. If it is currently 20 feet from the street is built and approximately 12 feet from the property line because of the road is laid out.
right of way, yeah.
If it made more sense for him to move it back 5 feet and he ended up being 18 feet away instead of being 13 feet away and making his building smaller, he might come back for a different variance to say, look, I've made it smaller, I've cut out 5 feet, I have to take down 5 feet of my building. Would that be something that you believe would have to go back to the planning board, or would that be a new application? And I don't know, he may be just saying, I'm gonna go 20 feet away. I just didn't want him to have to make a commitment, and the thought of withdrawing was what I had. But I'm open to, if the board feels there's a need to vote, then we'll accept what the board decides.
I'm not sure if, possible
Still
to
doesn't make it
take,
compliant.
no.
It doesn't bring it into compliance, they're still in violation.
Correct. No, no,
So, it's still, it's one of those again, and I respect what you're saying. It's one of those again, if he wasn't a licensed contractor, he knows better, because they're taught that, he goes to continuing ed, which I teach. I teach the 12-hour course, I know what these guys and men and women learn out there. It'd be different, but they know what they're supposed to do again. He puts a structure on the back of the house. There's a nice, beautiful little runway back there, deck.
Let me see,
He should know. He knows what the inspections are, he knows that concrete has to be inspected, and he has to comply. This should have been done to begin with. Or what they should have done, which a lot of people do, is they come to my office and I would have said, listen, you've got 2 streets, you need to be 20. There's plenty of yard over there, that could have got shifted and been compliant. That's the only reason why, and the big reason why I'm hesitant, from my standpoint as a zoning officer.
24 minus 8, 16. Let's see if, I think the other option would be if the board is willing to, I mean, the structure's 24 feet wide, taking 8 feet off the structure would make it comply, but then you also need to verify, he'll have to core the foundation, do something that the foundation is good. Now, the roof is on it already. I don't know how you can modify that without, you'll have to take
They're gonna cut it anyways.
portion of the roof and one section of the wall. I mean, that would make it compliant. So we're looking at, from zoning, we're saying, no, you need to cut it to make it meet the setback. So I think we're good in that way. And this might offer the applicant to salvage some of that, maybe, I don't know. Again, if the board is willing to do that, because to tell them, take it down completely and then rebuild it at 20 feet, it's gonna be the same thing. If we tell them, modify it to the satisfaction of the building commissioner that he's gonna approve.
No, but let me just, if he backs it off so that it's 20 feet from the line, he doesn't even have to be here.
No, he doesn't.
Other than the
because-
building part of it.
That's it. And I agree with you. As long as it's a compliant, and the penalty phase, and that's terrible, but what I'm saying, the penalty phase is, listen, you need to make it compliant, whether they cut it or they wanna move it. To me, it's not a whole big matter. The matter is that it was built brand new construction, and it was in violation. If they wanna cut it back, and the slab and everything 8 feet, and make it compliant, then that meets, for me, that meets the penalty phase of, don't do this. And then those that are watching, they will see that that was done to make it compliant, that they had to do something, and I would be in full agreement with that. Instead of them moving it, yeah, they don't have to move it, they just cut it.
I understand.
Cut it and make it compliant, absolutely.
But we'll have to deny this, either way, we'll have to deny the setback relief because he cannot leave it there.
That's correct.
And then he'll be in violation, but he can work with you on, if he can't make it meet the setback, then he has to take it down.
Right, you have to deny this,
Right.
that's right.
But I mean, we're given an option, at least try to salvage some of that foundation, structure. Okay, I guess. I mean,
Now,
we are in agreement, unfortunately, you need, it's gonna be unanimous 3 the other way.
With all due respect, I think at this point, I'm just gonna knock it down, I'm not gonna build nothing there.
That's,
I mean, just
sure,
all due respect. because
absolutely.
It's gonna cost me more money to push the foundation, do it, I
That's your choice.
I apologize. And I know the codes, and I do apologize again. It's not a living space, it was just to hold my music gear. As a shed, an accessory building, I know, and it went, by the time I got there, they poured the foundation, and again, I do apologize. I know.
Are there a set of findings? Do we have findings to deny?
We have, but we don't have, we can deny it. But this is a public hearing also, so is there anyone in the audience who's either for support or against this petition? Please come to the podium and make your... I'm good. You're good, okay, so... No one
Mr.
is
Chair,
here?
I'm
Yes.
just thinking that, I don't know, Attorney Markey, very capable lawyer, he may want to appeal our decision. So if he is thinking of appealing the decision, if that's a possibility, we're gonna need to have some findings. Sure. That he can appeal if he's gonna do it.
No, I mean, we can't just ask.
I think
We can
can't
appeal-
speak- I can only speak for my client, who I think, if there was a being called to the vice principal's office, it has happened. And so he knows that he's not gonna appeal, you know, I would strongly recommend that you have to find another lawyer, because I don't think he'd have very much success, and I don't want him to pay me to not do something useful. But I do think, you know, either have a denial on the record with a very simple statement of why,
Right.
or tell us to withdraw it, whatever it's at your pleasure.
Findings is the contract, the applicant started work without securing the proper permit
Twice.
I thought
and continued to.
the applicant just said he was gonna tear it down anyways.
Right, but I mean, we're
Right.
talking about,
Right, we're talking
he
about
wants a couple of
potential
findings in
I mean,
case
he could-
this goes to court.
Right.
I doubt it, but again, so the finding is the applicant, I mean, again, I have a couple finding that the property located at this and the owner and this and the I can send you that. But also that the petitioner,
Halim, I think the address is wrong on this also.
constructed, the address is wrong?
111 Prospect Street?
That's the other one. That's the old one.
Oh, that's the old one, okay.
For the other first case. I don't
The
have,
petitioner constructed a 24 by 24 accessory structure without securing permits from the local building department, right? There'll be one finding.
Right.
I'm not sure you want to say, the structure, the structure is in violation
Violation
of
of the
the,
zoning
of the
bylaw.
zoning bylaw.
Right. And the,
Violated the cease and desist.
and
You can, I mean, I'm not, yeah.
the petitioner failed to establish any hardship to the land for purposes of the variance.
Okay, so that would be the finding, adding couple of findings. I think, Michelle, we can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, we can leave. 8, we can leave. And then we'll add those 3 that you, okay? Because we had some, I mean, we can go over the findings quick of some of the findings that the subject property is located at 101 Prospect Street, Dartmouth, also known as map 12391. Property has been owned by Brian and Kelly Kudo since August 2022, located in the general residence district. Currently, there is a residential dwelling on the 18,180 square foot lot. The subject property is serviced by town and water sewer. The existing property is a corner lot with frontage on 2 Street, Prospect and Willis. The applicant petitioner seeking a variance pursuant to the Article 10, Section blah, exemption from setback to construct 24 by 24 with 8 by 10 bump out findings to be placed 12.3 from the Willis Street line where 20 feet setback is required. The petitioner started the construction for the accessory structure without securing the required permit, including a building permit from the local building department. And the building commissioner issued a stop order violation to the petitioner on May 6, 2022 for the construction of the accessory structure. And the structure is in violation of the zoning bylaws of the Dartmouth, right? You got that? And then also, we added that the petitioner failed to comply, to show compliance with statutory requirements for hardship to, statutory requirements to for the variance.
Yes.
So I think that's enough, right?
Yeah.
All right, so I think those are the findings, and of course, there'll be no conditions, so we need to make a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So the public hearing is closed. We need a motion. Mr. Human, Attorney Human, if you don't mind.
Where's the, I just gotta get the right number for it.
Yes.
I make a motion that we deny the application for a variance in ZAV-23-1 with the findings that we just previously made.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the approval of the administration, the approval of administration minutes of February 8, 23. I think what I want to do, probably take a 2-minute recess, and maybe Chairman Medeiros want to come back here. I think I might step down. I was absent on most of those cases. I really haven't looked at this, so we can just come back
I should have
and
lied and said,
change
yeah, that's mine.
seats.
And I would've given it to you.
I couldn't do that.
I'm kidding. Where the heck that came from? Yeah.
Back in session, resuming the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting of Wednesday, March 22nd. So we're moving on to the administrative portion of tonight's meeting. The first matter on the administrative portion of tonight's hearing is review and approval of administrative minutes of February 8th, 2023. Gentlemen, have any comments? Mr. Human?
No, I have no comments.
Yes. Bob wasn't here? Yeah, well, we have that run on others as well.
I only have two. I don't have.
Put Dr. Aguirre, it's fine. You want to put Dr. Aguirre on?
Yeah, we'll have Dr. Agai on. So the board will consist of, you can do it from there, Dr. Agai. We do it right from there.
Yeah.
So for the record, the board will consist of voting members being Attorney Alvin Human, Dr. Rahim Agai, and myself, Michael Medeiros. So, again, I'm going to refer to the review and approval administrative minutes of February 8th, 2023. If we can just go off the record just for 1 second.
Yes,
We've
you
done
make
it
a
before
motion.
with the people that approve it, are not necessarily the people that heard it. But we'll have him, because he was at least, okay. Great. So, gentlemen, being Attorney Human, any questions or comments?
I have no questions or comments.
Dr. Agai?
I have no questions.
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we approve the administrative minutes of March 8th, 2023 as written.
I think it was February 8th.
Second the motion.
March 8th, no, mine says March.
This one says February 8th. On here, it says February 8th. Okay, so it's March 8th. I apologize. You're correct. So what I have here was, no problem. So March 8th, 2023.
Second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. Next on the list is review and approval of minutes of special permit ZAV 22-9, 562 Reed Road. Any questions or comments, gentlemen?
I have none.
I have none.
I'll
I have
entertain a
none.
motion.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes of the variance hearing on ZAV-22-9 of March 8th, 2023 as written.
Second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Next and last is review and approval of minutes of special permit ZSP 22-13 for 562 Reed Road.
I have nothing to add.
I have no questions.
I have nothing to add either.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes of special permit number ZSP-22-13 of March 8th, 2023 as written.
Second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, the ayes have it. All right, is there any other business, gentlemen, that we need to discuss?
No business.
Anything?
No?
All right, I'll entertain a
I
motion
make a
to
motion, we
adjourn.
adjourn.
All right, we
Second
done.
that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Thank you, gentlemen.